Christmas was always a dark time for me. Every time I did drink, it was like an explosion. I know how lonely it was when people would go, just stop drinking, you.
I remember my first sober Christmas. What was yours like? Hi everybody, welcome back to On The Mend. This is a podcast where we look back at life's toughest moments to figure out how we move forward. Now today's guest is Scott Thomas. Scott.
Yes,
mate. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, mate. Now you might know him from Love Island or his incredible work since as an entrepreneur and podcast host. But the story we're going to be talking about today is his work on sobriety. You know, because you've been sober for how long now?
Coming up to my third year. Well,
Yes,
I did 1 year in 2020.
Yeah.
And then went back drinking for 2 years. Couldn't find that middle range, that moderation point, and then I decided to go back sober 3 years.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I mean, what was it like dipping back in? Because obviously after a period of time of sobriety, like I had that. I had like 8 years and life was good. And I wasn't really doing anything to take care of myself. You know, and before I knew it, I was back at it. You know, and I kind of like, and when you, I don't know what it is, like there's something about it. When you have knowledge of what it's like to be clean and sober, and then you're doing that thing again. You know, for me, I had this kind of like, I knew what I was doing. Like there was no kind of, before I had denial, you know, but I didn't have denial anymore because I was like, oh no, I'm acting addictively, ridiculously, and I can't stop.
Yeah.
You know, and I was very aware of that. Was that your experience?
Well, someone always said to me, once you do 1 year sober, every time you'll drink after that, it'll feel like the worst thing ever. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to me. So basically, I did 1 year sober, and I did it to try and prove, I think year one for me was just trying to prove everybody else wrong. Right? It was like almost like trying to prove to everybody and myself that I could do it, but I didn't actually develop any tools for life. So, and I think, if I'm honest, that seems to be quite similar for a lot of people who go sober for the first year. It's just about saying, you know what, I've done it and I can do it. And I didn't really do the work. And I talk about this a lot. And doing the work is actually developing those social skills. For example, I was just saying no to everything. I wasn't going out. I was just training, eating well, and just saying no to everybody and everything and cutting people off. And I think that's a really good kind of tip for anyone for year one, because I think you kind of got to do that. But year two, like the second time I went sober, that's when I decided I was going to do the work, and that's when everything changed for me. Yeah. But yeah, I went back drinking because I never really wanted to be the boring sober guy. That's what I had in my mind, because you've got to remember 5 years ago, no one was talking about sobriety. It's on trend now. It's cool to be sober now. But I remember when I put it out there, it was like, I was quite an anomaly. A lot of people were supporting it and backing it, but I was very much on my own, especially in the circle I came from. I was a massive party boy. I threw parties for a living for 10 years. And I never wanted to put myself in that box. I was like, because I never really classed myself as having a problem, because I could go a month without drinking, a few weeks without drinking. But every time I did drink, it was like an explosion. Right. I'd get myself arrested. I'd get myself into situations that I should never be in, getting after parties for 3 days, taking drugs. And it was so far from who I was as a person. That's what the problem was. When I drank, it was like a tornado. So I thought, do you know what? Maybe I can moderate, but I was really wrong. Yeah,
I think that's really interesting, because a lot of people there's so many different categories when it comes to drinker or drug user, right? Like it's like, and a lot of people I speak to, they're like, well, I haven't got a problem because I don't do it every day. I'm like, well, what happens when you do it? You know, how do you feel about yourself? You know, what's that situation like? Is it a positive or a negative? You know, like a lot of people like are very similar to you. They're like, well, I can go weeks and weeks and weeks without it, but when I do, you know, it's a fucking problem. You know, and I think that's kind of the thing. Like some people, I don't know, for me, like I have as soon as I put anything mind-altering my body, something else takes over. You know, and it's like I then don't have control over my actions, which doesn't suit me anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I have to. It's not like I'm too controlling over my life, but like I like to be able to make my own decisions. You know, and when I put something in my body, something happens to me where those decisions become something else, and I can't control them anymore.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think when I was trying to go sober for years, I was really struggling because I was so conflicted. So I was making a lot of money. I was partying with celebrities, footballers, models. I was living this dream life on paper. But underneath it all, I was waking up in tears most mornings thinking, what have I done last night? And why do people think that's me? Yeah. Because I was becoming a character. In order to be comfortable in these social environments, in order to be the Scotty Special, that was my alter ego. Is Scotty coming out tonight, or is it Scotty Special? And Scotty Special
Special.
Yeah, he was like the loudest guy in the room, the guy who was on the tables, the guy who would get everybody going. He'd be the last man standing at any kitchen party. And that was my alter ego. So I was always trying to live up to that. But really, Scott Thomas, me, I was the sensible one. I was the academic one. I was the one who was deep and had meaning to my life and everything else. But I kind of got lost in the cycle.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it came down to ego. I just wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be the ultimate lad. Growing up, shows like Geordie Shore were glamorized, and like being the ultimate lad was like, have you stayed out for 3 days? Hey! And it was almost like I got so wrapped up in that because that was my life. And I think it's such important to make that sometimes it's the environment that you're in that can make you lose yourself. And as soon as I stepped out of that, it was like taking a limitless pill.
Yeah.
It was like I just saw life in a totally different shade.
I mean, this time of year is very, it's a strange time of year for a lot of people, especially like people that listen to this podcast, because I mean, Christmas is one of those times where we can get either sucked back into old behavior, you know, very easily. I mean, I think Christmas is the number one relapse time of the year, you know, and which is really scary for a lot of people, especially in early recovery. And also it's a time where a lot of people realize how bad things have got. And for me, this was a really reoccurring story, right? Because Christmas for me was, I had to go home. You know, I didn't go home very much. And when I did, like, I was very good at hiding. You know, I was really good at hiding every aspect of my shit that I didn't want people to see. You know, and I think Christmas had a big impact on your recovery story, right?
Yeah, Christmas was always a nightmare for me. And you know what? It's only since we started talking just before we came in about that concept of, because I never really understood why Christmas was so bad for me. But yeah, you're right. It's because it was a time where you had to be around your nearest and dearest and they saw you at your worst.
Yeah.
I remember going back to a place called Revolution Wilmslow every Christmas Eve, and everybody would be there that you knew from back in the day. And you go in, you just want to put your best foot forward. That's what I want to look like, the man and everything else. And next minute I'd be getting chucked out in a headlock by the doorman. It was always challenging. And I'm trying to take myself back now because I've not been asked this question for so long on sobriety and stuff. But I remember Christmas was always a dark time for me because as much as it's special for families and everything else, like, I think it also highlights for people what they don't have. So, for example, my twin brother has 2 kids. He's happily married. My big brother is happily married with, he's engaged with like 2 kids and 3 kids actually. And I think what Christmas did for me was it almost highlighted everything that I didn't have.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as it's a celebration. And by the way, not anymore for me because I'm in a really strong, stable place. But when you don't feel enough, when you don't feel like you are reaching your potential or and you've got doubts about why you're single, why you're on your own and everything else, like it can be just the perfect time to go, you know what, well, just fuck it. I'm just gonna push the self-destruct button because I'm clearly not worthy because everybody else is so happy and I'll be the uncle that would come round and get in the pajamas with my nephews and nieces and at the time I didn't really think anything of it, but looking back, it must have been quite a lonely place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially for someone who's not really that confident and stuff. And don't get me wrong now, I mean, I've done so much work that I feel really confident, but yeah, back then it was a time where I would feel a little bit lost and just think, you know what, let's press the self-sabotage button. But my last drink actually was on the 15th of December. And I know it because I was seeing this girl at the time, and her birthday was on the 14th. And we all flew out to Lapland for this Christmas holiday. And I just remember this. And by the way, I've already been sober for a year before. And at this point, I was drinking every now and then. But there was this time around Christmas in Lapland where I was seeing this girl and she was annoying me in the day actually about certain things. You know, just like as couples do.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, all right, whatever you do, Scott, don't say anything tonight. Because what happened to me was when I had a drink, I'd say whatever was on my mind, even if I felt like I was in the right, but I'd say it in such a horrible way, I'd just be nasty and I'd end up being the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever you do, I remember looking at myself in the mirror, do not say anything tonight. Enjoy the night. It's her birthday. Let her enjoy herself.
And then this happens.
Yeah. I had a few drinks. Everything was fine. Got back to the bedroom. I was like, and I just basically just gave her a load of shit. And it just ruined a special day. This was not like the be all and end all. I've been through so much worse. It wasn't like the biggest argument we've ever had. But I just remember waking up the next day with anxiety and just thinking, I've done this to myself. She wasn't really speaking to me.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this season. If you want even more from On The Mend, hit follow wherever you get your podcasts. Right, back to the action.
I had so much love for this girl. And I was like, I've done this to myself. Like, I've just had enough. I've just had enough. And it wasn't even a big moment. There's been so many bigger moments. But this time, because I'd already done a year sober, I was like, okay, what am I going to do differently this time? Because my favorite quote is from Denzel Washington, and it's to achieve something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. This time I was like, okay, you've done a year of sobriety, you've gone back for 2 years, and you've not found that moderation point. What are you going to do differently this time? So I said, this time I'm going to say it's for good. Or at least I'm going to have that mentality, it's for good. Because this time I'll have to really do the work. And that's what I did. And I made a big announcement as well. So with me, sometimes putting out on social media and stuff really helps me, it keeps me accountable.
Yeah.
And I was like, this time I'm going to do it for good. And I did. And I'm 3 years down the line, and wow, what a journey it's been.
Man, amazing. I mean, how did you and your brothers are really close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how did they respond? Because they are drinkers, not like, but they're normal people. But I mean, how do they react? You know, because like obviously it's a big change for you, right? And you're changing something massive about your identity in a way. You know, like how do people close to you respond to that?
Yeah, I think, listen, it's been amazing, man. Like, I think one of the biggest reasons I wanted to go sober was for years I felt like this culture and what we were doing wasn't right. Amongst my friends, a lot of people that I loved. And I always felt like if I could do it, I could maybe show people there's another way. Because when I was going through what I was going through, there was no like clear role models for me. Because I hadn't been to rehab. I wouldn't have classed myself then at the time. I wouldn't have classed myself at the time as an alcoholic. It was more like, I just know this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be the role model. And I still want to be the role model that I never had. Because I don't want people, and I get goosebumps when I talk about this, because I know how lonely it was when people would go, just stop drinking, you. Like, they had no sympathy for me. Like, people just didn't get it.
Yeah.
In fact, people didn't even say stop drinking, because that wasn't even an option. Stop drinking 5 years ago. They were like, you just need to get a better handle on your drink. Like, the thought of me not drinking, it wasn't even an option. But I was like, okay, what do I do then? Because I'm trying not to drink, but every time I drink, I cause havoc. And people just didn't have any sympathy or understanding. They felt like I was doing it on purpose. Like, so if you see a guy at a party who's getting chucked out, or I get wives and girlfriends messaging me all the time going, he's done it again. He's a fucking nightmare. I want him out the house and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I just say, listen, do you think he wants to do that?
Yeah.
I said, I know it's really difficult for you, but do you think he wants to do that? He wants to put you through that. He hates himself right now. Like, hates himself. I said, please just like try and create a safe place for him to come to you to talk about things. Because what happens is people have no sympathy sometimes because they don't understand it. So what I'm trying to do now with my work is be a safe place where people can come to me, and hopefully, and a lot of my friends have. One of my best mates has gone sober. My biggest achievement was my mum was a big drinker. She hates me saying that, but she used to drink bottles of wine every night and watch the soaps for 20 years. When I went sober, she went sober with me. She's now like 5 years sober.
Wow.
She's an unbelievably different person, like glowing, shining. And she said it's because of me that she went sober. And then slowly but surely, I'm seeing this ripple effect of people around me. And it's not through me telling them, it's just through showing them a different way. And my biggest thing is, I have a lot of people who message me all the time saying, Scott, I'm sober because of you. A lot of like women and everything else. But the ones that really get me gassed up is when I'm on a dog walk, or if I'm in a sauna and a young lad comes up to me and goes, bro, I'm 2 years sober because of you. That gets me gassed, because they're the hardest people to talk to.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest mission, is to help younger Scott and anybody else who's going through this. I want to help everybody, but if I can help that person, I know that that's the person that needs a voice that they can relate to.
Yeah. I mean, so what when you say like you want to meet someone with empathy and kind of compassion with what they're going through, I completely relate to that. But there becomes a point where there has to be something that changes. So it's like how do you deal with that person who's struggling, right? And like it's like oh, I fucked up again. I called you up. It was up till 8 a.m. You know, like because for me, I'm like, I don't know what to say to that person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have certain things that I'll talk to them about, but like in some ways, I'm like, do I take a hard line here, or do I be compassionate and empathy? You know, like so and I try to do both. You know, but sometimes I have to take the hard line, and I have to go, right, dude, what fucking led you to this point? You know, why did you pick up that drink? You know, and that's what I have to go. You know, so where do you go with those kind of conversations?
I think for me, I get really excited when someone comes to me and goes, Scott, why do I keep doing this? I'm like, bro, the fact that you've even asked that question, the fact that you've got the self-awareness to even ask that question, you are miles ahead of most people.
Yeah.
Because it's the people who think it's cool, who just carry on doing it and don't have no remorse. And are just thinking, this is the way I'm always going to be.
That's
like,
something you hear all the time.
This is just the way I am, mate. I love a drink. I love this. I love that. It's the ones who come to me and go, why do I keep doing this? I'm like, boom, you're already on the right path.
Yeah.
Right? So then now it's, and for me, it's about what you're going to do differently this time. And my number one advice for anybody is like, set yourself a long enough period of time to do the work. Because we're always told about this 3-month period, like I did it multiple times, 3 months without a drink. And all it was a countdown.
Yeah.
It was like an explosion, a 3-month, get in great shape, everything else. 3-month period, boom, I'm on a mad one for 2 weeks. Yeah. So, and I did.
Whenever there's a finish line, there's a finish line.
100%.
And that's not a good thing.
But what I will say is though, a year, because you ain't counting down a year. Like in my opinion, like a year's a long period of time. When I set myself the goal of a year, don't get me wrong, towards the end it became a bit of a countdown, but at the start of it, it's a different mentality. It's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to just dust this under the carpet.
Yeah.
A year's a long time.
This isn't something I can grip onto my chair for.
Thank you.
This is the life change.
Yeah, this is a life change.
Yeah.
A year changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice would be set yourself a goal of a year. And I know it feels like Mount Everest, but trust me, it flies by. And after 6 months, wow.
You know that feeling when you wake up and it's like you've slept, but you're still knackered? Well, I used to blame the kids, the late nights, my busy schedule, basically everything, but what I was actually sleeping on, my mattress. Turns out that was a problem all along. When you're trying to rebuild yourself as a husband, a dad, a mate, whatever, you learn that good sleep isn't just a luxury, it's what you need to fill those roles. So over at On The Mend, my podcast, we switched to Simbra, hybrid mattress. We chose this mattress as we learned the hybrid layers adapt to your body, keep you cool and give you proper support. All of this helps so much when you're waking up refreshed and you're not dragging yourself through the day. So you can become a better version of yourself through the power of sleep. Simba's won over 100 sleep awards and 6 Which Awards. Best buys, and I get why. You get over a 200-night free trial, a 10-year guarantee, and flexible finance options. So there really isn't a risk, and you'll get to see how amazing you really, really sleep. Honestly, it's amazing how much better life feels when you're well rested. Head to simbasleep.com/on-the-mend and give yourself the rest you deserve. Ever feel like you're burning the candle at every end? That was me on tour, back-to-back shows, brutal travel, barely any recovery time. And let's face it, I'm not 25 anymore. I mean, my body was like, mate, what are you doing? So before the next leg, I switched things up and started taking Vitals by Heights. Just 2 capsules a day, packed with 20 essential nutrients for brain and body. Omega-3s, B vitamins, D3, all the good stuff. I mean, Heights has massively transformed the way I tour. I used to have trouble sleeping, not be able to fall asleep, be wide awake for hours, or fall asleep, wake up in the middle of the night, not be able to get back to sleep, then have to do a whole new day the next day, feeling pretty groggy. You know, Vitals has changed that for me. This isn't some gimmick brand either. Heights is formulated by doctors, backed by science, and trusted by elite performers. There are literally thousands of 5-star reviews to go along with it, right? If you want to simplify your routine and feel your best, head to heights.com/OTM and use the code OTM20 for 20% of your first subscription. Trust me, you'll feel the difference.
Yeah. Oh, I get goosebumps, man. Because I remember at 6 months, I was like, this is fucking mint.
Yeah, man.
I was just taking a limitless pill. Yeah. I was like, I grew more in 6 months than I did in 10 years of my life. In the space of 6 months, I got in the best shape of my life. I started learning, reading. I created my own wellness brand. I took over the business that I nearly lost. Because actually, one of the defining moments when I stopped drinking was when I got escorted out of a work event. And sorry, when you were talking about Christmas before, I actually forgot that was around the Christmas period. And both times I stopped drinking were around Christmas periods. And I got invited to this chairman's luncheon for one of my biggest clients. And we were being celebrating on stage for having this amazing year in business. And I decided to drink because back then, I couldn't go to any social event without being pissed before I got there.
Yeah.
Which sounds mind-boggling. Like, I was pre-drinking on my own before any event. I had no confidence, no self-esteem, and I would literally be pissed before any social event. So I literally turned up to this chairman's lunch and I was already half cooked, and we were getting celebrated on stage. And next minute, I'm ballooning. I'm just being an absolute ruckus. I get escorted out, and my whole team knows about it. And I continue to go out into London and just cause even more havoc. And I woke up the next day and I left this train wreck behind me. I nearly lost my business, everything. And that's when I flew out to Abu Dhabi on my own. And I was literally traipsing up and down this beach. And I kept listening to Denzel Washington over and over again. To achieve something you never had, you have to do something you never done. And honestly, I listened to that quote on the way to the gym so many times before.
Yeah.
And I kept listening to it and I knew deep down what I had to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do a year. And I always say to people, right, and you'll remember this, all it takes is one decision that you really mean. Because we've all said it before, we're not going to drink or we're not going to do something. But we all know, you will know.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place. I get goosebumps and I picked up this pebble in the ocean when I said it because I wanted to remember this feeling. I was like, what's this feeling? I'm going to do this. I've got this pebble at home now and I remember the texture because I was like, I want to remember this moment because I meant it and I did it and that year was unbelievable for me. So I always say to people, like, it sounds so simple, but make one decision that you truly mean and don't wait till you're at rock bottom. It's really easy to change sometimes when you're at rock bottom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah, the hardest place to change is when you're doing all right.
Yeah. So you have this kind of traumatic Christmas event, right? Which I think a lot of people can relate to. And then your first sober Christmas comes up.
Yeah.
Right, which I think a lot of people are going to be going through.
Yeah.
Now, I remember my first sober Christmas. What was yours like?
Oh,
do you remember
I
it?
love Christmas now.
Yeah.
For some reason, I dial in at Christmas.
Right.
I train harder. And I'm always like, I tend to be, probably not this year because I'm bulking, but I always tend to be in my best shape for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, instead of waiting till January, like, and then switching on, imagine like going into January in your peak, at your best.
Yeah.
Who says that you can't make Christmas a time to recharge, reset, a place for wellness? Like, you don't have to follow the rules. And I think that's my biggest message now. Like, I am my true self and I'm creating my life on my own terms and I'm authentic. And that has been my biggest superpower.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that literally all my life I was following the crowds. I was the first guy to go out because I did not want to spend time on my own.
Yeah.
I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. Now I fucking love it.
Yeah, mate.
Like, you better have something good to get me out because I love being on my own with my dog and just listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
And my brother's ripped me. I love a hot bath and I'm listening to Joe Dispenza or Tony Robbins or whatever. Like, and don't get me wrong.
I love that shit. That sounds fucking awesome.
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
Totally, yeah.
So my brother Adam rings me at the weekend. He goes, Scott, it's Saturday, because he's trying not to drink in a minute. And he's so funny. And he rings me and he goes, Scott, Saturday night, I'm clutching here, mate. I fancy a drink. What should I do? I've trained, I've done this, I've played paddle, I've done everything else. I went, okay, so you've done everything right. And now the last thing that I advise you to do is work on your mind. So I said to him, go and listen to like Joe Dispenza right now. And he was like, fuck off, Scott. Is that the best you've got? And then I sent him a picture. I was in the bath listening to like Olivia Dean or something like, and he was like, what is up with you? I said, no, the reason why I'm showing you this, bro, is because at some point in my life, I never thought I would ever be content here doing this. I'm not showing you this to rub it in your face. I'm saying, bro, keep going, do the work, and one day you'll be so happy in here, in this moment where you're content in the middle lane. But you have to work on your mind. Like, it's the biggest thing that I'm talking about now. And I love people like Chris Williamson with Modern Wisdom. And he's been talking about this for years. And he's obviously popping out the other side now, going really mainstream because people are starting to wake up the importance of working your mind. Because all we were told when I first stopped drinking was like, train, eat the right foods and everything else. And I want to be a big advocate now of like, in order to break the circuit in your brain and break familiar behaviors and patterns of self-sabotage, you need to rewire. And literally, I can listen to one YouTube clip of like 15 minutes in the morning and it can completely change my whole mindset for the day. So I want to be the guy now that helps people work on their mind. And that's something that I'm building with my new YouTube channel that's launching. I've got some other things that are coming out as well, but that's the big avenue that I want to go down because I think there's a real gap in the market for someone to talk about that, but not in a way that's woo-woo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. Which is hard to get on board with, because I think for me, when I first got involved with this kind of like reading these things and kind of listening to these people, I was like, this seems a bit too woo-woo for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I need something grounded and real.
Yes.
And actually, the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, this is really grounded and real. Do you know what I mean? But like, it takes a little bit of time to come through to that. Yeah, it takes a bit of time.
So I want to be the bridge.
Yeah.
Because
that's needed.
100%.
That's needed.
And even what you're doing here is the bridge, right? Because I get it. Like, I went to the Joe Dispenza retreat in Nashville recently, and even I was blown away.
Yeah.
And I'm open-minded.
So explain for everyone who doesn't know who Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
He talks a lot about frequency and energy. And his big slogan is believe, behave, become. And I started listening to him because I really loved his ideas around, instead of just chasing all the time, let go. And I saw evidence of this in my life. Sometimes, the less I tried for something, the more I got it. And we all have these moments in our lives, right, where you really, really want something to happen and you almost push it away.
Yeah.
Especially like with like relationships and stuff.
So what led you to him?
It just came up on YouTube.
Right.
Literally, this is what's weird, right? For like 5 years, I've been listening to motivational speakers on YouTube. I started off with like Eric Thomas, Les Brown, and sometimes I'd stumble across a new voice, and Dr. Joe Dispenza was one of them. He just like spoke to my soul. You know, and it was like, you know, when you just needed to hear something.
Yeah.
Because I was like, again, all my life I was brought up on hustle culture.
Yeah.
And
When was this, when you decided to go on the retreat?
The retreat was literally just this summer.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So where were you? So you're sober.
Yeah.
You're kind of smashing it. So what made you go, I need to go here?
So I was basically, I started to really ramp up listening to Joe Dispenza. And then I had a friend called Joe Thompson who basically ran me one day, and he had stage 4 cancer, and he had it like 3 times, and it came back. And then he flew out there to the retreat, and he came back and he rang me and went, Scott, you need to go. I said, what do you mean? He went, Scott, I paid $2,500 for it. He said, I would have paid 30 grand for it. And I really respect Joe. He's got a great mind, and obviously he was going through a lot.
Yeah.
And he was like, you need to go. It'll change your whole life changing. And he also said, he said to me as well, I laugh, he goes, you'll meet your future wife because everybody's on the same frequency and vibe. So I booked it and I flew out there, and I went in there thinking it was just about mindset and everything else. But wow, when I got there, my mind was blown. And what was really interesting about Dr. Joe is that he talks a lot about frequency, energy, visualization, meditation, everything else, but he backs it all up with science.
Right.
To the point where, like, this isn't woo-woo. This is, like, scientifically backed. He's, like, got pictures of brain scans. He's showing you, for example, like, the pineal gland inside the brain, which blew my mind. He said it's almost like a little satellite, right, for energy. And if you look at all, like, ancient scriptures and the third eye of... for example, I'm a proper geek when it comes to the pyramids. The pyramids baffle my head. I'm like, how did he build the pyramids?
Yeah, don't get me started.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So then, and then he basically talks about how this pineal gland is like a little cone-shaped gland in the brain. It's been basically shown in all ancient scriptures. It's the third eye of in ancient Egyptian culture. And basically, he was saying by activating that through meditation, you can tap into the quantum field and you can start drawing things into your life. And I know it sounds so woo-woo and everything else, but I've seen it happen, right? Because a lot of the stuff that I'm visualizing and the stuff that I'm manifesting is starting to happen. And I've got this new sense now of I'm really sure about where it is I'm going and what I'm going to do. And he talks about believe, behave, become. So I'll give you one example. When I was meditating over there, because we were meditating for 5 hours a day.
Wow,
and,
5 hours a day?
Yeah, 5 hours a day. And which I never thought would be possible.
That sounds like hell. Yeah.
Right. So let me tell you now, for years, before I went to this retreat, I was meditating. I was, to be fair, I got to quite an interesting point where I was always using guided meditations.
Yeah.
And then I met one guy who lived with the monks for 12 months. And he said, you do realize that meditation, you're not even meant to be guided. It's meant to be pure silence. And I said, well, why do people do guided? He went, well, and he said it's because it's a form of like, it's been made commercial, right? Which I thought was really interesting. So before I went, I was going, what's it called? Like, what do you want to call it now? I was going bareback, basically.
Yeah.
Going no music, nothing. And I got to the point where I meditated for 1 hour with no music and stuff. And it was like, don't get me wrong, it was hard, right? So like, I thought I was meditating like really well. And I had little glimpses of it before I went. But when I got over there, it was like, oh, I get goosebumps when I talk about it, man. It's like euphoric. Oh, man. I just drop into something. And he's doing guided ones. And it's like a place of freedom, because a lot of us think we want happiness, but actually what it is we want is freedom from our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it's not our external environments that are kind of grinding us down. It's not actually what's happening. It's the story we're telling ourselves about what's happening. So I was in this place where I literally, at one point we meditated for 5 hours straight On the last day, we did a 5-hour meditation straight. And for the first 3 hours, I was like what you were saying. I couldn't get into it. I thought it's going to be one of those days. I ain't going to get into it.
Well, I'd be dreading it before it started. I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be 5 hours. Oh.
No, you end up looking forward to it.
Really? Wow.
It felt like an hour.
Yeah. Because I struggle, right? Like I love the idea of meditation, and I've gone through so many different styles of meditation in my life. But 20 minutes and I'm done. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the idea of 5 hours just feels like so unachievable to me.
It felt like 45 minutes by the time we were done. But I remember when we first did it, I was in there for like 3 hours and I thought, this is not going to be a great one. And he always says, at that moment when you are really resisting and you feel like you're done, that's when you need to power through. So I thought, I'm going to get one more chance. And I just dropped into this place. And he kind of calls it like the quantum field, like the void. And you're literally in this place where you're not thinking of anything. And it's just like, it's like peace to the point that the actual meditation stopped. And I was like, I'm not coming out. I was just sat there, I'm staying there for whatever this is. I'm just staying there for a minute. So my biggest advice to anyone who's learning to meditate, because trust me, I thought it was a load of shit. For so many years, I was just doing it to tick a box. I like, in your morning routine, I'm just going to do it. So say I've done it. My biggest advice is to anyone is like, go to a group meditation, go to a retreat, learn how to do it, be around people, because sometimes even the energy in the room helps you meditate better. And
so you were meditating with 1,000 people, right?
1,500 people.
1,500 people.
Yeah, and when you feel the energy in the room, it's crazy. And listen, it all sounds woo-woo, right? But this stuff is...
It doesn't sound woo-woo to me.
This stuff is backed up by science. Yeah. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is really making waves now in his work because of that. And he talks about how, like synchronicities and like coincidences in life. That's not woo-woo. It's signs from your future self. So for example, right, and I'll just summarize. We go to a place in meditation where we become nothing, right? We're no one. And from that place, you can then visualize who it is you want to become.
Hi guys, just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor of On The Mend. They are London Nootropics. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first time I came across them, I was scrolling on my phone, and I got served an ad talking about how London Nootropics make incredible adaptogenic coffee blends infused with adaptogens, which I've now learned, first of all, how to say that bloody word, and secondly, they are natural plant and mushroom extracts that help your body adapt to stress, boost focus, and keep your energy steady. Their whole purpose is to make the very best adaptogen extracts simple and accessible so you can add them to your day without even thinking about it. They use premium, clinically studied extracts so you actually feel the difference. Each blend is designed for a specific need in your day, blended into coffee that actually tastes bloody amazing. Honestly, it's the best coffee I've tried, right? It's so easy. Just pour it in, mix it up, you get a great tasting coffee. My favorite is the Flow Blend. It helps me get into the podcast headspace. Head to londonnootropics.com to find out more.
But it's not just about telling yourself, oh, I want to be this person or anything else. No, you need to feel it because your heart is an energy source, right?
Right.
And this is scientifically backed. Like the heart emits energy, right? And you visualize with so much intensity that you can feel with your heart and with emotion where it is you're going to go. I get goosebumps when I'm talking about it now because I can see myself on stage. I can see my dream house. I've got this lake at the back. I'm looking up and then I can even see that I'm going to have a daughter. It's just weird stuff. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen it and it sounds weird, but I felt it with so much emotion that you end up drawing it towards you. Right. Because of the frequency from your heart. It's almost like an energy source. And it sounds crazy, but slowly but surely, everything I've said that I'm going to do is starting to happen. And even if it's all bullshit, right? Even if it's all bullshit, what a better way to look at life.
Yeah, man. I mean, I heard you mentioning earlier on about loneliness. Right? I hear a lot about this. And I felt really lonely at times. So I've just been on tour for 12 weeks. And it's difficult at times because I finish this big thing that I'm doing. I go back to a room on my own, right? And at times I do feel lonely, and I speak to other people who are really dealing with this, and especially at Christmas, it can be a really lonely time. How do we deal with loneliness? And what's your advice for people that are feeling desperately lonely, especially at Christmas?
Oh, it's an interesting one, right? Because I used to think that I was so comfortable in my own skin, and I'd say to people, I ask people the question because this question really landed with me when someone asked me, going, when was the last time you spent time on your own? And a lot of us will say, and I did as well, like, I spend time on my own all the time. I'm always on my own now. I love it. I love my own companies and that. But then I asked the question, when was the last time you spent time on your own with no phone, no social media, nothing?
Yeah.
Wow. That changed. Because then I realized all my life when I felt like I was on my own, I actually wasn't truly on my own because I had my phone with me.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that question is self-awareness is a superpower. And when we are on our own, a lot of us feel like we need to be around other people, we don't feel enough and everything else. But what I say to people now, and I'm spending as much time as I can now with no phone, nothing, like literally, as much as I can. It's not easy in the world that we live in.
Yeah, yeah.
But I call it the perfect playground for self-awareness. And the answers we're looking for is often in the silence we're avoiding.
Wow.
So when someone feels lonely or feels like, oh, like I'm on my own, it's like, what is it what's coming up?
Yeah.
Why
are you uncomfortable sitting on your own?
What's coming up? Like, and at first it can be really uncomfortable because all the shit comes to the surface. But what I realized is all the shit, it was never that bad. But then also what started to happen was all the good stuff started to come up going, I started to remember what I loved doing as a kid. I started to remember who Scott was without everybody else. I started to remember what it is that filled me up. And I started to get the answers I was looking for. So I think when anyone feels lonely, my biggest advice is like, try and flip it again and go, you're not lonely. You're just working on yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's part of the growth. And I think being okay and comfortable in your own skin is a superpower. But like with anything, you have to put the work in.
Yeah.
But listen, you can go too far with it because it got to the point where I was so comfortable in my own company and stuff like that, that I stopped to connect with people. I became a bit of a recluse because I was so protective of my energy.
Yeah.
And I'm now at a process in my life now where I'm trying to reconnect with more people and trying to find people on the same wavelength, going to the retreats, talking about stuff like this, which I usually would have kept to myself because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get judged and everything else. But the more I talked about Joe Dispenza, oh my God, so many people step forward. I'm actually talking to this girl right now who I'm really getting on with, and we're connected on a mad level because we're both on the same vibe. Whereas if I didn't talk about that, I maybe never would have found her. Do you know what I mean? Or do you know what I mean? So I do believe that human beings need connection, but be really careful and conscious of who you're spending your time with, because if you're trying to change and make some big change in your life, sometimes it's the people closest to you who don't like it. As much as they love you, to see you change and grow, it makes them feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because they want the familiar version of you.
And also in some ways, I've found that in some ways you're holding a mirror up to them, which they can become very uncomfortable with. And that's not your responsibility, but that can be uncomfortable for people around. It can make you lessen your transformation in a way to kind of suit other people's needs. Do you find that?
100%.
Yeah.
And I've realized now in life that a lot of people who I know truly love me, preferred me when I was down and out, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's because their position in life was being a savior.
Yeah.
Was being the one that helped you.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you've taken that away from them.
Yeah.
And they define themselves by that.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really, and it doesn't mean you can't spend time with these people, but just, I think through doing the work, you become really aware of who fills you up, who makes you feel energized, and who are the ones that kind of want to keep you where you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be the people who are closest to you. So that's why, unfortunately, when you're trying to make some changes, being comfortable on your own for a bit, doing the work, getting to know yourself, starting to back yourself again, which can be uncomfortable, is part of the process. Yeah. And then once you are walking with authenticity again, once you are walking with clarity and you know who you are, you start to attract the right people into your life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But when you first start to make some changes, I think there is a bit of a lonely period and a lonely chapter. And Chris Williamson talks about that a lot. And Alex Hormozy is like, when you're trying to go to the next phase in life, expect a little bit of loneliness.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is greatness and your new tribe.
Yeah. I think that can become, once again, back to Christmas, that's a really challenging period for that, because I think, if you're suddenly sober, right, around a load of people that you haven't seen being sober, they can find that really challenging. And you will get I hear a lot about this, I don't want to go there because people just want me to get back on it, and want me to be that guy again. I had that quite a lot. I had someone very close to me, at Christmas time. I was probably 2 years sober. And they said to me, why don't you just have 4? just have 4 with us.
Little bastards.
Because 4, you're a bit pissed, but you're not too much. I was like, mate, if I could fucking have 4, I wouldn't be fucking, I would have gone to rehab 5 times. You know what I mean? Like,
was that a good mate by any chance?
It was a really good mate. Yeah. So it's a really good person in my life, and I love them, and they meant well by it, but I'm like, mate, I can't do that. So I think people are going to come up against that, especially at Christmas time, when they're going into this environment, which is all kind of like everyone's there to do that thing. And you're no longer doing that thing with them. It's challenging, right? So how do you kind of set barriers around that stuff? How do you kind of set yourself up for success in an environment like that?
Do you know what? I get asked this question all the time. Like, how do you stop drinking when everybody else around you wants you to drink and everything else? And for me, it sounds daft, but it was so easy because from day one, I was so sure and so clear with my boundaries. From the moment I went sober, I was very clear that I was going to do a year.
Yeah.
Right? When people asked me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a year. Why are you doing a year? If I'm honest, I felt like shit. And I want to be the best version of myself. And I want to reach my potential. And it was doing me no good. If that person then tries to twist your arm, they're not a very good friend.
Yeah.
Right? But what happens is people say they're not going to drink. And then they walk in it with like this wishy-washy like vibe. Like I've done it a million times before when I used to go to a bar and I was like trying not to drink. And one of my mates went, do you want to drink? No, I'm not drinking, mate. Oh, shut up, go on, drink. Do you want to drink? Go on, get me Zambuca. And then because I wasn't owning it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good, strong enough reason. I wasn't firm with what I was saying. It becomes really easy to twist your arm. Whereas I would say to anybody is like, if you literally make a decision, which I talked about earlier, and you are so firm and set with your boundaries and you have a clear reason why you're not doing it, and you're not shy about telling people, well, listen, I want to feel good about myself. It was doing me no fucking good.
Yeah.
I want to feel at my best. I want to reach my potential, and I don't want to cause havoc to the people around me. So yeah, I'm doing this period of time, so I'm all right, mate.
I think that's exactly what it is, mate.
Yeah.
And you said something really powerful there, which was why. And I think I always come back to this. Like for anybody, like it's going to feel wishy-washy unless there's a very solid why. And you have to know that why. You have to write it out. You have to kind of fucking know all those things. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? And as long as there's a really strong why, no other influences can knock that, really. Do you know what I mean?
And I think then you've got to be prepared to lose some people from your life. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But the real ones stick around.
Yeah.
Like you said then, it was a good friend who said that to you, and he stuck around and he saw through the process, what you were doing. And I think that's the biggest thing, just allowing change and evolution in your life.
Yeah.
Because it will change. But it will change for the better, and there might be some teething problems and a little bit of pain in the short term, but it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
And also, on the other hand, for other people, it's a lot to take on board. They've known you as this guy. They've known you as, what was it, Scott? What was Scott?
Yeah, Scotty Special.
Scotty Special. They've known you as Scotty Special, right? So you're like, what are you talking about? You're Scotty Special. You're not this guy. So it's hard for them to come on board with this too. But I bet you now they don't think that.
No.
Now they're like, right, we like this version of you. We get it.
Do you know what? And also, it's taken me, I would say, probably about 5 years of consistency for people to give me the respect that I always wanted. Because I kind of flip-flopped along the way. Like I did the year sober, then I did the 2 years drinking this and that. But now, finally, there's this energy I think that you have when you become really sure of yourself. And my favorite quote is like, be who you say you are and get shit done. Yeah. So it's like, what I was saying before is like, I'd be living this healthy lifestyle, eating avocado and eggs and da-da-da-da, and then next and be on a bender sniffing cocaine for 3 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't match up. And people can sense that energy.
Yeah.
So I think when you are consistently who you say you are, and I think that's been my biggest gift now, is I'm consistently who I say I am, there becomes a confidence that no one really tries to test or kind of mess with, because you just know when someone walks in a room, when they've got this level of like clarity and they're really sure about themselves. And I think it's taken me this long to get there, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think I want to remind people as well, because sometimes we talk about how tough sobriety is. And we talked about here the process of it and everything else. But let me just like make it really clear to anybody who's thinking about going sober or anything else. It will be the best thing that you ever do.
Yeah.
It won't be easy all the time, right? But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade the self-awareness, the growth, the confidence, the love and self-respect I have for myself now. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And don't get me wrong, there are times when I'd love to just go on a 3-day bender and just escape life for a minute.
Yeah.
But I know what comes with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know
those are fleeting thoughts now, right?
100%.
Right, you know, because I mean, for me, like I don't think about that very often, but occasionally, like especially in the summer, I found that always would tick over a bit more than Christmas for me. But like in the summer, I'd walk past a pub garden, see people having a great time. The condensation on the fucking beer glass would go down. I'd be like, oh, that looks good. But then I'd fast forward the tape. You know, I had to kind of go, right, no, because that leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, and it leads to the fucking downfall of everything. You know, so I had to fast forward the tape. You know, but I think some people in recovery, they need to replace drinking with something. And I think that's good. A lot of people say, a lot of people in the recovery space say you don't need to replace it with anything. It was just draining from you. But I disagree with that. I had to replace it with positive things, you know, and like fill my life with other things that gave me meaning. You know, what would you say to that? What were your replacements for drinking?
I think my biggest advice for anyone who's going sober is get in the best shape of your life. Make that your number one goal. I mean, physically, mentally, like everything like that.
Because that doesn't have to be like a six-pack and stuff. That can be mentally.
No, just get in the best shape of your life. Like if you literally prioritize going, right, you look yourself in the mirror and go, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And then whatever that looks like to you, if you focus on that, you're going to go to bed earlier. You're going to read the right books. You're going to listen to the right podcasts. You're going to train. You're going to eat well. Like just focus on that for year one. Yeah. And then everything else falls into place, because when you're trying to get in the best shape of your life, and I don't mean, like you said, just about getting a set of abs and everything else, but it's the practice of discipline. Yeah. Because you're going to have to start being a little bit disciplined with yourself. And discipline has so many negative connotations, but actually discipline is the highest form of self-love.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so it's like, it's the first kind of stepping stone into self-discipline.
So what advice would you give someone who's going through a bit of a messy Christmas?
Messy Christmas, right, okay. First one, I would say rewire the way that you look at Christmas. And it's all about belief systems. Just because all your life you was told it was a piss up, it doesn't mean it has to be. Create a new narrative that this is the time of year where you get ahead of everybody else. Nice. And you get in great shape and you use this period to dial in.
Love it.
And you've got the edge. And that gets me pumped. And I do that every single year. Another thing would be just be really honest with the people around you. There's nothing like, especially for men, there's nothing more masculine than a guy being able to say, listen, so what? I'm going through something at the minute. And I could do with a little bit of support just getting through this period. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, no one can fuck with that if they care about you. And if they do, then they're not meant to be in your life anyway. Yeah. But we all know there's certain people that we can go to who will have our backs. And I think just being really honest with the people around you that are saying, listen, I'm being really serious about making some changes right now. And I need, this period's a bit tricky for me. So can you just give me a little bit of support? Yeah. I've never struggled with being vulnerable or talking about how I'm feeling. I know a lot of people do. But for me, I've never felt more masculine than when I've been able to say, yeah, I'll go to a therapist. I went to a therapist 10 years ago. I was talking about it and people I was like, well, I'm going in there to become stronger in my mind. Yeah. Like,
that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Like working on your mind is cool as fuck. So, I just think like being honest and vulnerable about what you're going through. My number one thing is don't beat yourself up. Like, and that sounds like a free pass or a get out of jail card. Like, sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, it leads to an explosion. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, just don't beat yourself up. You will know. You will have goosebumps all over your body. You'll have this feeling when you know you're truly going to make a big change and you're going to decide. So if that's not this time, it might be the next time. But at least the fact that you're practicing self-awareness and thinking about this means you're already on the right path. Yeah. But if you are going to make a change, get really excited by the future.
Mate, some of our listeners are the loved ones of addicts.
Okay.
Right, we get a lot of questions from those, which is really difficult because I'm on the other side of that. You know, so it's always hard for me to answer those questions. But what could they do to support people with addictions at this time of the year?
Yeah, so listen, I mentioned it earlier, which I think might have come across a little bit insensitive, like create a safe place, because I know how much pain and suffering loved ones can go through. I'm not a specialist, but what I will say is if you can create, and I know it'll take patience and love, as much as a safe place, just to let them express themselves And another thing I would say is like, even by showing them, sometimes like, don't tell them, don't preach at them. Like, for example, the biggest impacts I've had on the people around me is I've just literally shown them another way by just being a shining light. If you can be a shining light and do the work on yourself and everything else, and sometimes you might have to let them go in order to find their own way. But at the same time I would say that when they do come to you, create a safe place, don't be patronizing, don't be preachy, and also just focus on being the best version of you so that when the time is right, you can be there for them.
Okay, we've reached a point in the conversation where we do something on the mend, which is a gratitude list, something I've been doing for years and years and years.
Love
and
it.
we think of 3 things that we're grateful for today. So I'm going to ask you for 3 things that you feel grateful for today.
Listen, the fact that I'm on Matt Willis's podcast, man, that's like, no, it's a big deal, man. Like, even today, I'm coming in today. The fact that I've been asked to come and do this, Scott from 5 years ago would never have got this opportunity. And it's a credit to the work that I've done and the place that I'm in, that I'm being given this amazing platform. My life's like a movie at the minute.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm working with my dream brands. I've got so many exciting projects going on. I'm working with my brothers. I'm so grateful for everything that's happening. And what I do every single night is I say a little prayer. I'm not like super religious, but I'm more into like the universe. And I say a little prayer, and I always say thank you for like 5 things that happened that day. And some days I find myself focusing on just one negative thing all day. It's been on my mind all day.
Yeah.
And then literally I get in bed and I go, this happened today, this happened today, this happened today, this happened. I went, oh my God. And Jody Spencer talks about it a lot, is where he says, energy goes where your attention goes.
Yeah.
So it's just about shifting your attention and making sure you're always looking at your life from a bird's eye point of view and remembering what to be grateful for, and don't let in just one thing bug you.
We're going to end now, mate.
Amazing.
Say, dude, great chat, mate.
Amazing.
Fucking great chat. Thank
Sorry,
you so
man,
much.
it's over talk, man.
Mate, no, you don't at all. You're fucking brilliant. I love it. I love it when I can just sit and listen. It's fucking awesome. Mate, thank you so much. For anyone listening, if you're heading into Christmas feeling like you're a bit overwhelmed, I hope you found this conversation with Scott useful. If you did enjoy this convo, please do give us a follow and let us know how you're finding the show. We love hearing from you. Please go into the comments, let us know. As always, if you or someone you know is struggling, you're not alone. We've listed some very helpful resources in the show notes. Please go take a look. Thank you very much.